Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA and UFC 229. Conor versus Khabib. Holy fucking shit. We got to get right to the shits early. Off rip. So what this is called, it's going to be a new series I'm going to do after really good fight cards called Mastermind's Morning After. MMA, get it? And yeah, so let's just get right to the shits. It's Sunday morning, the morning after the fight. I didn't even really have much time to really process it. I'm like pretty hungover, but not really hungover. But like I feel a little like, recovering from being liquored up. Got the liquor in my system. But yeah, so dude, fucking wildness, bro. I don't even know where to start, man. Like that shit was so wild. But obviously, you got to start from the top down. Conor versus Khabib, the fight we were waiting for. The fight that, like, I on Saturday, I was like, time cannot pass fast enough to get to this shit. But, all right, let's just start talking about it. Oh, man, I can't start with the brawl. I got to talk about the fight before I start talking about the brawl. All right, so, Conor Khabib. First round comes out. Khabib's not really looking to stress, to rush anything. Keep in mind, I only watched this fight live once. And extremely fucking lit. Like I was on my level. But Khabib's coming out, not really looking to rush anything. Conor's coming out looking calm, relaxed, kind of looking to throw shots to the body, find his range a little bit, looking a little. I was hoping like best case scenario this fight would look like the Mendes fight. And then from the initial start, it was kind of looking like that. And I was like, all right, just from like the real fucking initial start, like the first like 15 seconds. And then 30 seconds in, Khabib gets the takedown. But I like when before he actually like secured the takedown, Conor, the way he looked very well equipped and trained to handle what Khabib has in his skill set, like in his preparations. It didn't look like, oh, this is a Conor that's like, fuck what he's doing. When this fucking left hand smacks you in the face, you don't know what fucking happened. And it wasn't like that. It was like, it seemed like, all right, like Conor probably took a lot of time to just straight work purely on his grappling and his wrestling. So when Khabib got the takedown, Conor remained calm. Khabib wasn't really getting much off. He was controlling and had top position, and he was, he was just like controlling position, had Conor down, but no shots really landed or anything like that. And Conor was remaining calm, and you're like, all right, this seems like a really composed Conor, kind of like a Conor that came into the DS2 rematch, with a very specific game plan in mind and not really looking to rush anything else, like just rush the being in the moment of the fight and doing all the flashy shit and the capoeira kicks and all that shit. Like, shout out to Uncle Hinach. And yeah, he seemed very relaxed in that first round, and then the round went by rather quickly, and I was like, all right, so he's just like content on just like riding out the position. He's not getting touched up, and second round's gonna start off on the feet, so that's what he's looking for. So, well, second round very well does start off on its feet, and Khabib knocks down Conor in like under the first 30 seconds or some shit like that. And I was like, damn. And I'm not gonna lie, like during the fucking, when like the pay-per-view was starting and they were playing like that opening media package, and they had like Khabib's highlight reels and shit like that. And when I saw Khabib like throw like that kind of like winging overhand right, kind of like hookish, he throws it really fucking funky. But I saw him knock someone down like that. I was like, oh shit, like that shit was like really unorthodox, but that shit looked powerful. And I was like, damn, like, all right, like, you know what I mean? That just kind of, I saw that, and then that kind of made it mental, and I was like, oh shit, like Khabib does have that. You can't forget about that. And when he knocked Conor down on the feet, I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck is even going on right now? And then like Khabib goes to throw a flying knee, and then like kind of like overshoots it, and then he kind of ends up against the cage, and Conor could like back out. So that kind of really gave Conor a lot of leeway. And then after the knockdown, then it was kind of like back on, like they were like standing, Khabib was doing good in the exchanges. Conor really didn't look like he had like his sniper shit that he usually does. Like he did. To be honest, to me, I saw like the grappling, like Conor's grappling was extremely he came in very well improved in the grappling department, and he throughout the fight he did handle Khabib's grappling very well. And but when it comes to striking, I feel like his striking was rusty, which is kind of wild. Like he didn't have like that kind of like sniper like shit like he did in the Alvarez fight, or even in the Jose fight, or like, because in all those other fights he seemed so like sharp and so precise, and even in all his other fights he seemed like so like fucking like just on point with his shit, that when we saw Khabib in the Ali Quinta fight, we're like, any openings like that, Conor's just gonna sink in and get you out of there real quick. So that's what we came in thinking. But Khabib's stand-up was looking like good Khabib stand-up. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like you're not gonna look at him and be like, oh, he's a good boxer. But like for him and his style and the way he strikes and what he's looking for in his ultimate like game plan, it plays very well into it. So he gets Conor down in the second round, and he starts just like ground and pounding, and like that shit is kind of, you know, it's doing work. And then like Conor survives the second round, and then we're like, oh shit, all right, this is like getting interesting, you know. It made it to the third round already. So when it comes to the third round, like if I remember correctly, that shit was pretty much all on the feet. And Khabib was like shooting, and Conor was stuffing and defending and doing well like in the grappling. And we're like, all right, this is where like Conor should come alive. But honestly, I don't know if it was the fatigue and the toll from like the second round. Like the first round, Conor didn't spend much energy. But in the second round, like, I don't know, maybe kind of like getting like hit like that, and then your adrenaline starts pumping, and you're trying to like look for positions, but to get out, but you're still trying to remain calm. I don't know, but his striking in the third round, like he was getting some shit off, but it wasn't like Conor shit, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like the Eddie Alvarez fight. It wasn't like shots in the Nate Diaz fights. His striking looked nothing like any of the Nate Diaz fights. Like, I can't, he didn't look like anything like in the Floyd fight. I don't know if it was fatigue or whatever, or he over-prepared. Not over-prepared, but he did do his due diligence for the major and glaring department when it comes to what his opposition holds and what he needs to work on, which is wrestling and grappling. But maybe in the extra time it took him to prepare for that, he didn't do what he usually does to maintain his hands and his feet to keep that shit like as sharp and precise as he does. Because keep in mind, that shit is probably going to take... You need to like put in some good rounds. You need to have a regimen to get into that timing, get into that zone, like really get honed into that shit. But if you're doing that, but like for the most part in your camps and shit like that, you're really just doing it to get ready to prepare to someone who's just really looking to take you to the ground. And a lot of even your live rounds involve you going like dealing with wrestling and heavy grappling. That's exactly what you need to do, because he was very well improved and looked great. He looked great in the wrestling department, but because he improved so much in that, he probably didn't do what he needed to do to keep his striking on the shit, like do the things he needs to do in the drills and live rounds in the striking realm that he needs to do to be as sharp as he usually is. So, which is surprising, because I thought like, because his boxing looked like pretty decent in the Floyd fight. So you thought he's going to come back like looking extra fucking sharp with the hands. But he looked extra sharp in the grappling department, you know, for Conor from where he was especially. So like I'm glad to see that improve, but I think like that the cost of him not doing what he needed to do really is what cost him the fight. Because yeah, you did exactly what you needed to do to kind of negate Khabib's game plan, stay safe on the ground relatively, get back up to your feet. Now in the third round, you're stuffing takedowns. But now the thing is, you did all of that work to ensure you're on the feet to stay and remain in your playground where you're the most sharp and most dangerous. But you didn't do what you need to do to be as sharp and as dangerous, to be as efficient to get him out of there in that time. So it cost Conor. So the third round was on the feet, and Khabib was holding his own striking. Khabib was like knocking Conor. Conor was looking for a lot of shots. He wasn't getting it. He was looking real fatigued. And honestly, maybe that's just the thing. Maybe it's just Conor was fatigued. Maybe he did do the due diligence to stay sharp and all that. I'm probably wrong on that maybe, but he did look tired. He did look fatigued. So honestly, especially when Conor's fatigued, like I heard someone say this in the media, I can't remember who, it really is two different people when you're dealing with a fresh Conor and a fatigued Conor. So that really just could have been the case. He was tired. And the fact that Khabib got him in a submission period in the fourth round, because so Khabib gets him in the fourth round, gets him down, and then takes his back and then gets him in a neck crank. And I was surprised Khabib was gonna even put him in a neck crank or even put him in any submission, because I thought Khabib was gonna ground and pound him. I thought this might be the first night where we see Conor like finished, or like kind of like get the shit beaten out of him, TKO'd, like him looking like he got Barboza'd. So the fact that Khabib sunk in the submission surprised me. And if you guys are wondering like what I think about the submission, yeah, it's like a legit submission. I've actually gotten someone in a street fight before, but like I don't know, it's just kind of like Conor now is all right. Before I even go there, because that's like a whole nother discussion that I can't go there to without discussing what happens right after he chokes him out. So he puts Conor in the neck crank, and he's cranking on his neck. Conor taps out. Khabib is bending over to Conor and saying probably just like barking that shit. And then he goes over, he walks over, people in Conor's corner talking shit, probably Dylan Danis. Khabib takes out his mouthpiece, throws it at him, then runs over, hops over the fence, jumps off like the fucking eagle that he is, and then they start brawling. And they're just fucking brawling in there. I'm like, oh shit, they're like you see like Dylan throwing, him throwing. I'm like, oh shit, they're actually fighting. And then like I see the camera like, all right, so pretty much like as soon as this all happened, like I'm just like drinking, smoke. So like, all right, so I was smoking. I was smoking like I rolled up a bunch of blunts, and then I was like, all right, so I was like smoking throughout the first half of the fight. And then I put that, and then that one finished, and then I lit up the other one. And when like the fourth round came out, like I was still chiefing on the second L, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put this out right now. Like maybe like 2 minutes in the fourth round, I'm like, I'm gonna put this out right now because this ain't looking good. This is right before Conor got taken down. Like I'm gonna put this out right now. If Conor makes it to the fifth round, then I'm gonna light it up again. He didn't make it to the fifth round, but fucking when as soon as Conor tapped out, I was like, damn, can't believe Conor tapped out like that. And usually immediately after some like crazy shit happens, like in a UFC event, Jamari usually hits me up, or like I usually hit Jamari up or some shit like that. So, and then, like, as soon as Conor tapped out, because me and Jamar were talking a lot that day, and we were talking about, like, a lot about that fight. We were talking a lot about that fight, like, just of recent. And then, you know, we're talking about it a lot on the day, like, just, like, waiting for it. Like, we really couldn't wait for it. So, when Conor tapped out immediately, I hit up Jamari, and then, like, when Jamari picked up, then Khabib just, like, went and started hopping over the fence and started, like, fighting motherfuckers and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, yo, what the fuck is going on? Oh, shit, like, Khabib is scrapping, I'm freaking out. And then shit, like, Jamar is on the line screen, was like, Strike Force Nashville! Strike Force Nashville! I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then all I see is motherfuckers, like, hop in the cage, and then they start jumping McGregor, and Conor's fighting. I'm like, oh, shit, Conor's fighting! I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And Jamar's like, what the fuck is going on? Strike Force Nashville. I was just like, yo, like, what really is happening right now, my guy? Like, what the fuck is happening? And then, like, shit was just, like, so wild and surreal. And so just, like, what the fuck is even happening right now? And, like, I was just, like, and, like, I was, like, super twisted, too. So I'm just like, what the fuck is he, like, what? And I'm gonna tell you how I knew tonight was gonna be, or well, I mean it was last night. How I knew last night was gonna be super fucking legendary. And I'm gonna have to go back to this later, but I'm gonna tell you exactly the fucking moment I knew that 229 was gonna be a historic fight card for the hardcore fight fans, and it was gonna be one of those. Alexander Volkov, Derrick Lewis. They're fighting. They're going back and forth. Derrick Lewis doing that thing. And then Volkov is really getting his shit off mostly. Derrick is in trouble. And it's getting down to it. You see Derrick Lewis kind of just like winding up. Doing what he like trying to do. Like do the Derrick Lewis Hail Mary shit. And then it's like getting down to it. And then like when it's down to like the last 90 seconds. Now you're seeing Lewis kind of like blitz in a little more, try to piece together some combinations, and then it's like 30 seconds, clock is winding down, and I shit you guys fucking not, I was like, all right, damn, this shit's looking like, and he's coming off that Ngannou fight, I'm like, all right, this shit's looking like it's gonna ride into Derrick losing a decision. But I was like, but it's so clear that Derrick was just like waiting for that Hail Mary pass. But I'm like, if Derrick knocks him out, I was literally thinking this. I was like, if Derrick knocks him out, because I was super fucking worried and super fucking like anxiety riddled that for some reason that tonight just like might be just like the main event might just be anticlimactic. And honestly, all right, so I was rooting for Conor to win, and I thought Conor was going to do like a Conor and like, you know what I mean? Like just do his thing. And you guys know me, I'm not a Conor dick rider or anything like that. But I was kind of thinking, yo, like, because I'm like, all right, Conor's not stupid. He's not going to take this matchup or accept this matchup when he doesn't have to and he's very smart. So he's not going to take it without like putting a lot of preparation into it, especially like preparation that he feels he could go in there, put himself at risk, and have a good chance of coming out with a victory, because he wouldn't be doing it. He wouldn't even sign up for this fight unless he felt that way. So I thought like Conor might be doing Conor, but then like I was like, all right, I know for a fact that there's a very good chance that in the first like 40 seconds Khabib gets Conor down, and we're like, oh, this shit is a Khabib fight. Because I remember even when the Ali Kinta matchup got made, I was like, oh, well, you know what? Like, honestly, I could see, like, Ali Kinta, like, getting the upset. Like, I wouldn't be totally, like, surprised if he knocks out Khabib or beats him. But when the fight first started and then Khabib got Al down, I was like, oh, well, I mean, now you know. Like, it's a Khabib fight. So when Derrick Lewis got that, so I was worried that it just might be my like I'd be so waiting for this fight, and then it's just kind of like that kind of like the main event is just like that rhythmic ground and pound of Khabib, and Conor just loses, and it's just like, well, that's that, you know. And I was so excited for the shit. I was worried about that, but I was like, yo, if Derrick Lewis gets this knockout before, like, just like if he gets this shit, this tonight is gonna be fucking legendary. And I'm not fucking kidding. I'm not making this shit up. Literally like 2 seconds after I thought that, he knocks out Volkov. So I knew that. I knew, all right, tonight's going to be something special. All right, but anyway, back to the brawl and back to all that shit. So a big fucking brawl breaks out. It's the reimagining of Strikeforce Nashville, and shit is wild, and it's like chaotic in there. You don't know what's going to happen. And all right, so my thoughts on the brawl, man. I'm gonna give you two kind of different, distinctive takes, dealing with like two different matters. All right, so when it comes to just the whole Conor camp versus Khabib smacking Artem, Conor coming back, loading up the plane, throwing the dolly. Now this shit. So, to be honest with you, the whole genesis of it is from Khabib, because you're just, everyone's like, oh, Conor's like the bad guy in this whole thing because of Brooklyn and the dolly, but on the real, Conor only did that because Khabib smacked his boy. So, and honestly, to keep it real with you, bro, like, Conor could have just not fought Khabib at all, and he could have just like had like beef with him on the side, like camp beef. He didn't have to fight him. But all right, so and then you have Dana White when the whole Brooklyn thing happened. This is the most disgusting thing. And then like after that, in the interviews, after like the dust settles, you could tell when like Dana's telling the story what happens in interviews. Like, so this guy Artem Lobov, he gets smacked by Khabib. So, and you can see the pride in his face, like talking about how gangster is Conor. And he's like, so Conor takes a jet, loads it up with a bunch of his Irish goons, and comes in here and da-da-da-da-da. And then, like, you can tell, like, you can see the way he's telling it, you know what I mean? It doesn't match, like, oh, it's the most disgusting shit. And they were running the promos, they were doing all that shit, they were, like, mad cool with that. And then, like, this happens, and you could tell that, like, in the immediate aftermath of it, like, even in the interviews, like, Dana's not, like, going that, oh, this is disgusting, this is the worst thing, Khabib is never gonna fight. He's not going saying any of that, because I think he kind of learned from the Danis incident, and he's like, yo, I'm rerunning the shit out of this on promos for the rematch. So he was very like guarded. He didn't say anything about Khabib getting in trouble and shit like that. All right, so when the media and everyone's disgusting, it marred the event. I saw on like ESPN coverage, it's like event marred by Brawl. It's like, no, this didn't mar the event. This didn't do anything. I get it. Like, I get it. The mainstream people, this is human cockfighting and all that. And like, oh, it doesn't surprise me. A fight broke out at a fight. These guys are animals. And I get people have those perceptions that wouldn't all that. But at the end of the day, we're going to be a big sport. This shit happens. This shit happened in baseball. Motherfuckers brawl in baseball and hockey, basketball, and NFL. And every major sports fights have broken out. And this is really the first one that happened, I guess, at a high-profile event. I get what they're saying, but I really, truly don't give a fuck about any of that. When it comes to, like, just the shit, the beef, and, like, shit like that, man, like, I have absolutely no problem with it. Like, I get it. I really get it, honestly. I'm cool with it. I think, like, I think Khabib really kind of, like, all right, outside the brawl and shit like that, I think last night is the truly the moment where Khabib, like on some real shit, he kind of became a legend. And you guys, like, you guys know I'm more of a Tony fan and shit like that. We'll get into that, like, not too long from now about Tony. But, like, Khabib did his thing. He knocked down Conor on the feet. He stood with him way long enough for Conor to get him out of there. He did his game plan. He absolutely dominated Conor. And like the question of so you had the I've said this multiple times. You could go back and watch some episodes. You got the three kings of the lightweight division. You have Khabib, Conor, and Tony. You got Conor, who just like jumped in, took the lineal championship. Then you have Tony, who's been working and cleaning the division out and has like truly he's championship caliber and because of the work he's did and the fighter he is, which legitimizes it. Like a Robert Whittaker, the gauntlet he went through to earn the belt. So you don't debate whether Whittaker really is like the best 85er in the world. Really, you're like, oh, he's a paper champion. You can never say that just because the lineal belt is gone with GSP. It doesn't diminish Whittaker's belt. So you have Conor with the lineal belt. You have Tony Ferguson with like the legit belt because of who he is as a fighter. Same thing. How Holloway, his belt is super fucking legit because of the gauntlet he went through and his skill set and all that. And then you have Khabib, who a lot of questions about Khabib. You know, he's super good at one thing. You know, he's dominant and he's enforcing. But you're like, what if someone has enough of a skill to kind of hold that off and put him away? So there's still a lot of questions about Khabib. Everyone knew he's a motherfucking monster, no doubt about that. Like, what if someone could do this to him and would he pull through? He basically, the whole matchup wise was like, all right, both their styles are meant to cross each other out. Conor on the feet is meant to take out Khabib. Khabib on the ground is meant to take out Conor. Whoever plays in those realms when they need to will be the victor. But the fact of the matter is, Khabib didn't rush anything. He fought the fight, did whatever he wanted to, executed his game plan, stood with him when he wanted to, clipped him up on the feet, and got him out of there when he wanted to get him out of there. And even in the second round, he almost got him out of there with that like Kimura, like Michael Johnson style. So Khabib really, really legitimized himself. This was really like almost like a championship unification bout between the lineal championship and Khabib's championship. So Khabib really legitimized himself, really put himself up there in greatness when it comes to UFC champions, being 27-0. He's an undefeated champion. So, you know, like the undefeated champion shit is rare. I mean, and he defended his belt. You got like honestly, John Jones. Besides that, comes to mind is my guy Weidman. When he was champ, he was undefeated, and he defended his belt like 4 or 5 times, some shit like that. Ronda was an undefeated champion. Cody was an undefeated champion, but he lost the belt. I'm trying to think. Yeah, but like that's a very like elite thing of being a undefeated champion. So he really and he does it at the biggest stage, the biggest pay-per-view. They're talking about him everywhere in mainstream media, sports media. The video of him wrestling a bears on Conan. He's really he just beat Khabib and like dominant. I mean, Khabib just beat Conor in dominant fashion. We saw what that did when Nate did that, but Khabib did it even more. There's so much more publicity about this fight. So like Khabib was really at like the pinnacle of whatever he's ever been in his entire life in his career. And the fact that he was just handling shit, like I don't have a problem with, to be honest with you. And I think, right, personally, like 2 perspectives, really quick. As a fan, I thought it just made shit more awesome. It made my night so much more awesomer. It made like I woke up today thinking about this shit. It like I can't wait for all the content that's gonna come out from this. As a fan, this shit that shit was incredible. I would not have had it any other way. Now, as a person and as a human being, I'm totally cool with it too, and I get it because I've had shit. I've had shit where like me and the homies are out somewhere, and there's tension between us and another group, but it's not really the time or place for it. But sometimes, like, you can't really be diplomatic when it comes to shit like that, and sometimes shit goes down. And I've been in situations where shit's gone down where it shouldn't have gone down, but fuck it. What are you gonna do? So, I totally get it. I'm cool with it. Khabib did his thing. Like an eagle. Motherfucker squawked on the air. There's a picture of him just jumping, and, like, you see just Dylan Danis in fear. And Dylan motherfucking Danis, you fucking piece of dog shit on the bottom of my shoe. You became such a famous, relevant player in mixed martial arts. He became one of he became one of the most relevant people in mixed martial arts, in the mixed martial arts world, like that. People that don't, alright, so pretty much people that don't know or have an idea who, like, a Derrick Lewis is gonna know who a Dylan Danis is, because they're like, oh, isn't that guy that had something to do with the fight with Conor and, like, Khabib? Because that's the magnitude of the level this fight was on. So now you have him kind of being, like, the nucleus to this craziness, and he's just, like, the center of attention and the focal point and all that. I haven't even checked, like, if he said anything about it or any of that, but, like, it's wild. They started fighting people. So I went back and I started watching some footage, and from, like, what I saw is when Khabib jumped over and started fighting, then Conor kind of hopped over the fence and started hitting Khabib's cornerman from over the fence. Like, he was in the cage, hopping on top of the fence, reaching down, hitting Khabib's cornerman. And then the security pulled Conor down, and then Khabib's cornerman started coming into the cage and hopping the fence and getting in the cage. And then, like, one security was like holding Conor back. A guy, like, in front of Conor came past security, and then they started fighting. And then there's a guy that hopped over the fence that was behind Conor, started piecing Conor up from behind. And then a guy from, like, and then security's, like, trying to break it up, and then a guy from Conor's right starts coming in, and then Conor goes to swing a punch, but it looks like it more clips the security arm than anything. And then they, like, try to break the shit up, and then, but, like, while like Conor's getting pieced up, then some Conor's cornermen see him getting pieced up. They run into the cage. They try to start fighting. Like, they start fighting, and, like, shit was fucking wild. Shit was dope. That was incredible. That fucking made my night. I'm all for it. And yeah, dude, like, shit was fucking awesome. And now, like, and another point I wanted to make. I definitely did. I'm glad I just remembered this. There's, like, a major point I wanted to make. The second perspective. The second perspective is, when it comes to the UFC, when it comes to the precedent that they set with all this shit, when you look at Paul Daly, he threw, like, one hook after the bell. They fucked his career. Like, they fucked his career. They kicked him out the UFC. They haven't let him back since. He's still, like, not allowed in the UFC. That's why he's in Bellator doing his thing. He's super, like, a superior talent, but they fucked him because of that. Roy Nelson, when he, like, kind of playfully kicked, not playfully, but it was lightly, but he was upset. He kicked John McCarthy, but that shit wasn't, like, Dana came, it's disgusting, da, 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 but they didn't really, I think maybe he got fined. They didn't really, or suspended for, like, a month or something. They didn't really do much about it. And then even when Verdum fought Travis Brown for the second time, and Verdum, this is Sparta, kicked Edmund, that really had nothing, like, no repercussions. So it's just, like, I don't know, just for like, you set that Paul Daly shit so fucking high, and, like, for you to even not let him back into the UFC, or even, like, you know what I mean, like, just pretty much, like, off with his head, like, when you're on that type of timing and shit like that, and when some shit to this degree happens, and Dana's just, like, pretty nonchalant and just, like, whatever, it's up to the commission. I'm not doing anything. It's out of my hands. What if the commission's gonna fine him and suspend him? Yeah, the commission is holding his purse. I don't know. Honestly, I thought Dana was gonna be like, Khabib's not the champion. He doesn't have the title. I thought Dana was gonna come hard, but he really wasn't. He was like, well, I didn't put it on him because I don't want them throwing shit in the stadium, in the arena. That was about it. So I mean, like, I am totally cool with it as a fan and as a person. And I really had no problem with that shit because that shit was like, it was deep, you know what I mean? So I get it. I'm cool with it. But like, and then as just a mixed martial artist fan and just like a fan of the game, I'm like, Dana, we all know Dana's a hypocrite and a liar. And he'll tell you a bold-faced lie like 1 second and then announce that very shit. Like, that's not true. That is not fucking happening. Fuck you, Ariel Helwani. I'm going to fucking kill your career. Fuck you, Brock Lesnar is not fighting. I've said it, you piece of shit. He's not fighting. And yeah, he is fighting. But I was more mad that like he fucked our surprise. That's the kind of type of guy again Dana is. And real quick, I really don't have a problem with Dana being mad at Ariel in that respect. I was just making a point. Like, we just see Dana say so many, no, it's not happening, and then that's what ends up happening, and he just didn't want to tell us. So the fact that like Dana's like, I don't know, you kind of really just see Dana like, all right, listen, like, I know, like, I am who I am. I'm like, bottom line is the money, really. I give a shit about the money. This rematch I can make is going to be popping. So I'm not going to say anything that they could hang me by when I'm doing footage when I'm running the footage of this shit later. So Conor Khabib happened. Khabib won dominantly. Khabib is lightweight king, but we can't forget about Tony Ferguson. And the fight with Ferguson and Pettis was motherfucking incredible. All right, let me tell you how I like structured the night out for this fight. I was like, all right, like on Saturday morning came, I was kind of like running low on buds a little bit, getting down to like the last few nugs, and I was like, all right, I definitely got to re-up before the fight tonight. Like, I definitely got to re-up, like definitely got to make sure I get some, like, a nice bag before the fights happen. So I re-up. So I'm like, all right, now I'm chilling. I pick up some Swisher Sweets, and I'm like, all right, so now I'm set. It's like probably around like 8 o'clock now. I start like getting a good stream. I'm like, all right, start looking at the fights. I'm like, all right, man. So you know what? I didn't eat anything all day. If I cook dinner right now, I'm gonna be straight. Like by the time I'll like start eating, it'll be right about time for the pay-per-view to start. So like I pretty much could bang out dinner. Then by the time I bang out dinner, I could start pouring up some vodka, and then like by the time I like have enough food in my system, start drinking like a decent amount, I'll be like super like on my level by the main event. So I was like mapping this shit out. So and then like during like dinner, I was like smoking a couple L's, and then when the Derrick Lewis fight happened, I was like smoking out a bong, and then I was like, all right, you know what? During like the Polo Reyes fight, and or not Polo Reyes, my bad, Dominic Reyes fight, and the OSP fight, I'm like, it's gonna be a good fight, but I'm gonna roll up like 2 fat L's, so I have it for the co-main and the main event, so I could just chief throughout them both, and just be chilling. So I was like, but I need to like make sure like I got like I definitely need like a nice L for the co-main event, because I was not sleeping on the co-main event because I knew that shit was gonna be fucking amazing, and I knew it was gonna be fireworks. So and then Ferguson Pettis starts. I light up the L, and then I'm just like, yo, this shit's incredible. I'm just like watching this shit. This shit is stylistically so fun. This shit is everything we wanted it to be. And yeah, great fight. Tony's looking great. I think the commentary kind of like drew my attention away a little bit, because they were talking about so much about the leg in the beginning. So that kind of made me be like focus on that, like for that time period, like for a little bit, like maybe like a minute or something. Like, damn, like is his leg jacked up? But then the fight goes, and like just watching the techniques and like all the shit they're throwing, that shit was incredible. And then when Pettis dropped Ferguson, I was like, oh shit. And it's so fucking funny because like every time Ferguson gets dropped, he's like, oh, I'm not just gonna drop and then like look to like scoot on my ass and like get like try and get back on my feet or anything like that. When he gets dropped, he's like, you know what, whatever momentum I'm going, like whichever way I'm going in, direction I'm following him, I'm just gonna go with that momentum and like just like flip my way back. So it's always, every time he gets dropped, he's always like rolling around and shit like that. So he gets dropped, he starts doing all like his rolls and shit like that. I'm like, oh shit. And then like he comes back, puts the pressure on, and then like it was just a wild fight. I definitely gotta watch that fight again soon. Like I'm probably gonna watch both fights tomorrow in the gym. Just like, yeah, I need to watch that shit again. It was incredible. Yeah, and then Pettis ends up breaking his hand, and then good call on Duke Rufus for calling it. I think like at that point it hit like such a climax that you really, if you stop it right there, you're not really at a loss. You're just like in the middle of like this fun, entertaining war, and like definitely I want to see a rematch down the line. Like who doesn't? But like stock wise, your stock doesn't drop. Your stock actually goes up a lot. And like you're kind of in the discussion of like the extremely top tier of the division at that point, and you're being super entertaining at doing it. And like it's like the resurgence of Pettis. Like it's another loss, but like his stock like came up, and like the perception came up a lot, and he held his own. So like when honestly, like maybe like say Pettis' hand really is jacked up, and he goes out there and just gets fucked up the third round. And you're just like, damn, dude, Pettis, like, he looked good a little bit, but he got knocked the fuck out. He was looking bad. That's not the case. Now you go, wait, like, dude, Pettis went to a war. Like, we just need to see that shit again eventually. So the fact that he did such a good job, that really raised his stock. He like he's back up in the talks again. Ferguson, man, just coming back that quick. Just pulling it through, pure heart, pure will. I fuck with Tony. He's got to work. His chin is mad suspect. He needs to not get clipped up like that. But when he does get clipped up, he knows what to do a little bit. Not really. I don't even think it's like, oh, he knows what to do, but he just knows how to like kind of find a steering wheel in the chaos a little bit to stay kind of safe. So yeah, congrats to T Ferg. And it's kind of crazy because honestly, what's next for Khabib outside of all the Brawl bullshit, outside of all whatever may happen there? He's gonna get a light slap on the wrist. I don't know when like Ramadan or whatever is coming up, but they're probably gonna give him a suspension through that. So when he wants to come back, it's gonna be, or when he can come back through the commission, it would have been when he wanted to come back anyway. So I don't think they're gonna strip Khabib either. So like, it just makes the craving for Khabib Ferguson, we just need it that much more, and it elevates it and makes it that much more of, we knew that fight was the two best lightweights in the world, but Conor was in that equation of like, oh, he's definitely in discussion of being the best lightweight in the world as well. So now that Conor Khabib played out, Khabib came out on top of that. Now we need Tony Khabib to truly see who is the greatest lightweight of all time, essentially. And I've been saying that, even if you go watch some old videos, I've been saying that. Like there's this triangle going on with these three that they need to all sort it out with each other to truly see who is the champ. Yeah, I even called it like boxing. I said it's like boxing where you got like the WBO, WBC, IBF, all that shit. Excuse me. So, yeah, now that Khabib like unified the lineal title with Conor, now Conor and Tony need to unify their shits. And I'm not going to talk about that fight stylistically yet. I'll wait till that. But I'm just saying, like, Because before you're like, all right, we're just kind of like Conor just fought Floyd. This is the interim title when Khabib and Tony fight, then McGregor's gonna get stripped and all that. So we had like all this like, oh, it's pretty much like an interim title, like winner gets McGregor, pretty much is what it was. But now that like that they forewent that, and then someone already got McGregor, now it's like, all right, now these are the best two left. So when we were getting like, all right, we were getting Khabib Ferguson as an appetizer and a prelude and like kind of a prize fight to see who gets the Conor fight. But now that it got rearranged so the Conor fight already happened, this isn't a prelude to anything anymore. This is the main course now. This is the motherfucking butter. This is the garlic butter dip and lobster. You know what I mean? This is the top tier of elite martial arts is Ferguson and Khabib. And now that Khabib has that, you might even fuck, man, like this might even be like a box office kind of fight now, because Khabib is that dude. Like he is that dude in the lightweight division right now. There's no doubt about it. And you got Ferguson that is that dude in the lightweight division, no doubt about it, but he didn't get to like unify his belts. Khabib did. Khabib got to unify with the lineal belts that Conor had. So Khabib has a little more claim now as top of the division, but Tony is right fucking there. And it's kind of like Khabib is only really in that position because of certain, like, that easily could have been Tony in Khabib's position if Conor wanted to fight Tony instead of Khabib, you could have bet your ass that it would have been Tony there. Like, Conor would have come back and fought Tony when Tony was the interim champ, or planned it to fight him then. So Conor always wanted Khabib, probably because they said that like that's the worst style for him, and that was his kryptonite. He wanted to prove everyone wrong. So, but whatever the reason was, he always wanted Khabib. So kind of because Conor wanted Khabib, Khabib got Conor. But if Conor wanted Tony, it could have been Tony versus Conor at 229, and Tony could have been the legitimized unified king. But it played out that it's juicier the way with Khabib, pause, and it's more drama filled, and it's got more like street shit and like elements, and it's got so much shit to it. So now that Khabib kind of has that claim, now you have Tony that refused to be forgotten, refused to be left behind. He's like, I'm gonna make a claim, I'm gonna make a statement of my very own. And I thought that was dope. I can't wait for Khabib Tony. That's the next fight they have to make. Now, the question that remains, the question that lies, is what's next for Conor? Where does Conor go from here? This is a very, very, very different thing that we've seen, position we've seen from Conor for Conor to be in. Now, keep in mind that like the Brawl kind of takes a lot away from how devastating this would be in the discussion of what happens to Conor now. Obviously, Conor came in knowing that this was a very dangerous fight. This was a risky fight. The most risky matchup and risky fight he could possibly take, but he was probably doing that to prove people wrong. Like, I could do this. But the fact is, when you take such great risks and you're already expected to lose, there's not really that shock factor. The only real shock factor that could really be is if you prove people wrong. And I think he's kind of been riding that for a little bit because he's taken such great chances that the only real surprise is he's like kind of going against the impossible. The only real surprise will be like if he makes them like impossible possible. So when he doesn't do it, it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's duh. We knew that was going to happen, kind of. So when you look at when he lost to Nate, you could argue that it was kind of a non-factor. Like if you're trying to defend Conor, you'd be like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. But because of the way it was, the lens it was placed in and the scope it was put in, I'll put it to you exactly this way. It'll be like if Woodley had a fight with Whitaker. Woodley was going up to middleweight and he had a fight with Robert Whitaker. But last minute, Whitaker got injured. He pulled out. And then they're like, all right, you know what? The only fight we can make right now is Derek Brunson, who's a top middleweight. He's like in top 10, top 5 middleweights. And then Woodley's like, word, I'll fight Brunson. But it's short notice. I'm going to fight Brunson at light heavyweight. So you got Woodley, the 170 champ, fighting at 205, but fighting a middleweight, fighting Derek Brunson at 205. And say he loses to Derek Brunson at 205. Then you go, but well, like, it doesn't really mean shit because he lost at a guy that was fighting at light heavyweight. Like he lost that fight. A welterweight lost a light heavyweight fight. What's the big deal? But in reality, he lost a fight at light heavyweight, but it was to a contender of the weight class he was going to challenge a championship for. So it's like, in reality, he didn't even make it. If he was in the division, he wouldn't have even made it to the champion. Like, he wouldn't have even made it to Whitaker. So that's really like how that is exactly really what the McGregor situation was. He fought a lightweight contender at another weight class up and then claimed that it was a loss at that weight class and pertaining to that rankings, when in reality it had to do in the landscape picture. But because they did that in the short notice, they could frame it the way they wanted to. That, listen, it's a short notice. It was 2 weight classes up. The guy weighs like 300 pounds. We're going to come back and we're going to beat him. Rematch, he wins the rematch. It's like this giant thing because we never thought he'd lose and all that. Then he's like, all right, you know what? Now I like righted that wrong. Now I get the challenge for the belt. The 2-weight world champion I want. He does it in incredible fashion. But before that, you could tell in the second fight with Nate, you could argue he lost that. There is a very solid argument that he lost it. So you could argue, argument's sake, he lost both fights, but then you could say, all right, but like, all right, the second fight, he didn't beat Nate in as dominant as a fashion as Nate beat him. So, all right, you could say he got finished. He got by the skin of his teeth in the second fight and then beat Eddie Alvarez. Now then he goes to fight Floyd Mayweather in boxing, who is the best boxer. But keep in mind, Floyd is like 149 pounds and he's like 5'2.5". And Conor pretty much did. If the ref didn't step in, Conor was going to be unconscious. So he pretty much got knocked out by a very tiny guy. The most skillful tiny guy. But there's that. But like, because no one in the boxing world beats Floyd. So, you know, it's a spectacle in itself. So no one expected Conor to win. The only surprise would be if he does win. So he had all those kind of cushions to all his losses. Now, this is the first time, and it's kind of like, it's definitely cushioned by the fact that the brawl and all the tension is there, and like now, like all like I'm definitely hype, like a marketing reason for a rematch is there. So all this hype and all this shit, but the fact of the matter is that like he lost the championship. He's not the best lightweight in the world. He lost a fight for the title. And this is really the first time where we're seeing Conor in this position. This is the first time where, granted, it was against his worst stylistic matchup and he didn't have to take it. But the fact is, he fought for the title and he lost it. This is kind of like putting it in the scope is, all right, what if he never won the belt from Jose? He never would have elevated to the heights that he has. If we saw like that hint of human at featherweight during the championship bout, I don't think Conor would have been. No, I know for a fact Conor wouldn't be where he is. You could say that the Nate fight happened and he lost like immediately after the Aldo fight. The fact of the matter is, like, when it was the defining moment of let's see who he is, he already passed that test. And he was riding so high off on the heights of that. When he fought Nate, it kind of really didn't even matter because you're like, all right, whatever. He's trying different things. He's doing things we never saw. It was at this. He didn't even have to take this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So, yeah, which is true. He really didn't have to take that fight in short notice. But anyway, now we truly see him. He is nothing but a contender in the lightweight division. Arguably, when the rankings come out tomorrow, if it does, Conor should drop down to number 2. Tony should go up to number 1. So now Conor isn't even the number 1 contender in the division. So this puts it in a weird place where he's not champion, but he has this super fucking drawing power. He's the biggest star in the sport. He's not champion. What are you going to do now? Like, say he's a contender. He's a lightweight contender. So if you're going to do like a McGregor Pettis fight, or a McGregor Ferguson fight, or a McGregor Gaethje fight, or something like that, this is going to be like contender. You have to headline it on a pay-per-view. You're not going to have Conor and put him on like ESPN. So you're going to have like, it's going to be this unique situation where he's going to be such a star where like you're going to have him fighting non-title contender fights in pay-per-view main events. And like, it's not that crazy because like essentially you kind of did it with the Diaz fights. Wasn't really contender fights because of the weight class it was in, but essentially those were 2 lightweight contenders fighting and headlining a pay-per-view and drawing in like the greatest pay-per-views of all time in UFC. So now it puts him in this very different position we've never seen him in, and where does he go from here? His next moves have to be very careful. I would assume he's going to campaign for the rematch. I think I saw like something, I don't know how true it is, if it really was from his Twitter. It said like something like good knock, looking forward to the rematch, and on his Instagram he's like, I'll be back. So it's like, I'm pretty sure he's going to campaign for that rematch. Although performance-wise he doesn't warrant a rematch. And in the rematch, like with the improvement he showed, you could see him doing better, but like, I don't know, the cardio is just like a glaring major issue. And I think the cardio takes you to such a level of fatigue and Conor's at such a level of comfort financially that you're just like not going to be in that belly of the beast so often when you don't have to. But like, very, very unique situation. Conor could either be a lightweight contender, try to work back the title shot, which won't take long. He could pretty much get a title shot whenever he asks for one. But on the other hand, he could just kind of be, he is the biggest draw in the sport. He could just do super fights and say, fuck it. Really just kind of fight for the McGregor belt, which is that cash money. So he could just do whatever at weight classes. Honestly, though, if I'm Conor and if I'm trying to do the smartest thing, all right, we know that shit is fucking crazy. We know Khabib ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, Conor like got fucked up. So he knows Khabib ain't nothing to fuck with. Tony really ain't nothing to fuck with. If he loses to Tony, he's super fucked. He knows that he goes to the limits with Nate, but that he could pull it off with Nate. If I'm him, I'm going to wait till Poirier-Nate plays out. Even if Poirier wins, but whoever wins that, really, 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 he was talking about saying even before, it's like maybe me and Nate can spearhead the 65 division. I think his only real box office star retaining option is to try and get a fight with the winner of Poirier-Diaz at the new weight class and be champion of that weight class. I think that's the only way he could do something about it, because otherwise he's going to be fighting contender fights, and I don't know how much that's like. It's definitely going to still do good in pay-per-view, but then it's going to be in a weird space because you're like, all right, you have the most the most like drawing star, but he's not a champion anymore. And how long, like, and it's like if he's just fighting regular fights, but at such a high level, then how long can that ball of fire burn that bright for? So if and to be honest now, if you look at, if right, say I'm a total Conor hater, I fucking hate Conor. You could be like, well, he lost an Nate Diaz fight. He lost the second Nate Diaz fight. Well, I'll give you Eddie, and he got fucked up by Floyd, and he got fucked up by Khabib. So in his last 4 fights, he got fucked up in. And that's kind of like, you have to pay some mind to that statement if someone brings up that argument, because he, you know what I mean? He really did have tough times in all of those fights. And he lost the majority of those fights. It's just factual information. The last 5 fights, he lost the majority of it. There's no denying it. There's no getting upset at it. It's just facts. So now it really puts it, we saw Conor do the unthinkable and fight Floyd and make it and take this sport to heights unthinkable and the pinnacle. But was that the pinnacle? Was what we saw of Conor, like, during this and the Floyd fight and his ascension, did we just witness the absolute peak? Is this the time where the whole perception of McGregor starts changing? If he starts losing, star power is starting to start dwindling. You know, there needs to be a redemptive factor. There needs to be a fight where he wins. But if he loses to Contender or loses the next fight, it's just like, dude, that shit just starts diminishing. Like, the air starts, like, leaking out that shit real fast. So it's a very interesting position of where he goes from here. The Brawl really saved him a lot. The Brawl actually really opened up, put on the table a rematch for him. So, the Brawl really made the main focal discussion of the whole event being the Brawl. And the things surrounding it and all that. And, like, the Conor losing and being dominated is almost like an afterthought. Whereas if that never happened, that would, like, Conor getting fucked up would really be all that we're talking about. And, like, where he goes from here, that'd be the main focus of the conversation. But now he has, like, pretty much a rematch if he wants it. And I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, it's very dicey waters for where McGregor goes from here, and, like, it's really could be the beginning of the end if he doesn't do the right decisions and make the right moves. So, excuse me. Oh, yeah, my bad, I'm not tired. But yeah, so this really could be, this is a very, very, very important time for Conor. So we'll see what he does. Great event, great fights. Derrick Lewis versus Alexander Volkov. You know, like I talked about it a little bit before. Volkov was doing his thing. He was kind of just, you know, doing the Volkov thing. Derrick Lewis pulled it out like he does in an amazing fashion. And he's definitely deserving of a title shot. I don't see that happening, though, because I don't see Cormier fighting Lewis. We got to let that. Now heavyweight's a little clogged up because Cormier's got Lesnar. And then Jones is back. So I don't see him doing that. I don't want to see him fight like a Curtis Blades, because what's the point? You really kind of earned your title shot at this point. Like that, like this was definitely like the title eliminator. So Lewis definitely earned himself a title shot with this. I don't know about this champion fighting him. I don't know about Cormier fighting him, especially with the timeline and Cormier retiring. So if they do Stipe versus him, I wouldn't be mad, because Stipe is a prestigious heavyweight. He's ranked above him. So if they do Stipe Lewis, I wouldn't be mad about that. If Lesnar wins the belt against Cormier, that is a possibility. You never know. Lesnar versus Lewis. That's just probably not gonna happen, because if Lesnar wins, they're probably gonna do Lesnar Jones. So yeah, like, it's a little, he does deserve a title shot, but because of the situation of the heavyweight landscape, I don't know when he'd get one. Maybe they could do like an interim belt while that shit's going on. Like, they've done shit like that before. So maybe they do him Stipe versus the interim belt. I wouldn't be mad at that. But he's definitely in title contention 100%. Fuck with Derrick Lewis. Heavy. Like, heavy. And, like, you could go back to a video I did in, like, 2016. Like, some shit like that. Where, when JDS fought Ben Rothwell and Derrick Lewis fought Gabriel Gonzaga on that card, I'm like, yo, Derrick Lewis is doing his thing. I'm like, if he keeps this, I said in that video, I could see him being a major player in the heavyweight division. Like, I got more in detail by that, but like, I definitely saw that shit early with Derrick Lewis. He's my guy. Shout out Derrick Lewis. Great night of fights, man. Did not disappoint. Did not fucking disappoint at all. Even the McGregor fight, like as the McGregor Khabib fight was going on, I was like, yo, this is very interesting. This is exactly how this is ideally what I would wanted it to be like. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was either going to be some McGregor magic or Khabib time. But it was very interesting for it to be the way it was, and like for it to like truly play out in the most fair way. I mean, Conor was doing some dirty shit and like some cheap shit. But I mean, I think he was getting so like dominated, he didn't really give a shit. But kind of forgot what I was saying. Yeah, no, to see it play out like the way it was playing out, and like in all the ranges and like on the ground and on the feet and all that. So it really was very telling and told a lot and proved a lot for Khabib. And honestly, like I don't like. I'm not saying because of the brawl or anything like that, or oh, you went after Dylan Danis, you're such like a boss or anything like that. He said like none of that, like none of that reasonings, but just like after that night, the way Khabib just did everything the way he did, Khabib is a fucking boss. Like Khabib earned a lot of my respect doing that shit the way he did it. And I mean, not even like, oh, he brawled someone, he got in a street fight, he's so cool. Not even like that, but just to like put the beat down on him, and then just the level of no fuck givenness. I respect that he did what he did. He went Mystic Mac on Conor. He said he was gonna do exactly what he was gonna do, and he did it. And you can't let that be taken away. Unified the lineal championship. I know you guys are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Unified, like, but like, nah. It really, in my head, and what it really is Conor was the lineal champion. He had the lineal belt, and this was a unification bout, really. And Khabib did it. Khabib came out the victor in dominant fashion. Really wasn't even a moment where McGregor shined. Like, there, even on the feet, like he landed some shots, but nothing. Like, oh shit! No tide was turned in that fight ever. Conor never turned the tide once, and that was like wild to see. And especially for them to be on the feet as long as they're on the feet, and for nothing to happen. And for the fact of when they were on the feet and when something did happen, it was Khabib knocking down McGregor. Gotta give the round of applause. Like, I've nothing but respect for Khabib with his performance and all that. And I was like, you know what? It might, like, I had a feeling. I'm like, tonight's gonna be some McGregor magic, or it's Khabib time. But I was like, all right, I'm picking it's gonna be McGregor magic, but I really feel like it's gonna be Khabib time. But I thought it was gonna be like Khabib time in like a boring, like shitty way. But the fact that it was like a fair fight, that the fact is like Khabib even played his game and all that. It was nothing but respect from me, man. So yeah, like fucking wild. Like, I'm trying to think what else. Like, right. Real quick, man. Dominic Reyes, that kid is elite. He was looking real good. He looked. I like him a lot. I like his style. He's gonna go far in this division. I'm calling it now. Like, he's gonna be in a short amount of time. He's gonna be a very big player, a big player in the light heavyweight division. And I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we see him in title contention, not too far down the road. But I see him like having dope fights in light heavyweight and really establishing himself in the light heavyweight division. So shout out Dominic Reyes. That was dope to fight with OSP. How it was like he was doing good, and it was kind of going back and forth a little bit, and just at the last second, just knock him out like that. And I don't know, I was like sketchy with the rules and all that, but dope fight, dope card overall, fucking incredible. Hats off to the UFC, pulling the fucking through. This is why this is the greatest motherfucking sport in the world. This is why this is the best shit that like could ever exist in a competitive stance. In a competitive setting. This is just the greatest sport in the fucking world, and there's nothing like it, and I love nights like this, and I fucking live for nights like that. This is Mastermind's Morning After, and you already know it's Mastermind MMA.